Hello, Soul Center. This is my week one update from South Africa. So just first want to thank you guys for giving me this opportunity again. I've been having an amazing time and it's great to be back. So yeah, first week in the books. First few days kind of just settling in, getting my bearings straight, getting the time zone. And I was lucky enough to get off the reserve a few times. Went on a really cool hike, like an hour and a half away. Saw some different communities. Was able to get out into the local community here, and just get to see the living standards outside of the reserve. Obviously, there's a lot of poverty, and in that there are a lot of opportunities for poaching syndicates to come in and take advantage of local people and incentivize them to poach. And so wasn't good to see, but as a change of perspective, it was good to see the different living styles of people in the area and how there are a lot of vulnerable people around, especially this part, and that they can be easily taken advantage of. And so that was a good kind of kickstarter to my research and giving me a different perspective. Then from there, I kind of did a lot of research into the different types of poaching. So you're looking at not just rhino horn, which I'm going to be specializing in, but then you've got elephant ivory, you've got the meat trade, and you've just got like animal part trade poaching as well. And so they all have different danger levels, different price points at each, and obviously the most expensive and the most sought after is rhino horn. And so today, from what my research has told me, rhino horn trades on the black market at around $40,000 to $60,000 per kilo, and each rhino horn weighs about 2 to 3 kilograms. So poachers are just super incentivized to come in and take rhino horn and kill these animals in order to feed their families. But then also I learned that most of the poaching today is in large organized crime syndicates. So it's not really organized, it's not like local crime, at least for rhino. And like the meat trade and the animal parts trade, it is a lot of local people trying to make their way. But in the rhino trade, which I'm focusing on, it's all basically syndicates. So these are heavily armed, heavily militarized, and heavily funded units coming into these reserves knowing exactly where the rhinos are at all times, basically knowing they're always one step ahead. They're always one step ahead of the anti-poaching units, the security on the reserve here. And it makes it really hard for people to keep these animals safe when there are such large organized crime units coming in and killing these animals for their horn. And then, so I've also done a lot of research into different anti-poaching measures. And so that looks into ranger patrols, guards, cameras, incursion rates in certain areas. Thankfully, the reserve that I'm in right now, Thorny Bush Game Reserve, is a private reserve, and there haven't been many incursions in the past, which is really good, in the past like 10 years. And so this is a great place to kind of do my control research and see why and what different factors goes into creating such a successful environment in anti-poaching. Because then if you look at different reserves or government-run reserves, they're just full of poachers, and there are barely any animals left on these reserves. This is where 90 to 95% of the poaching incidents happen around government reserves, and that's just because there's a lack of funding. Rangers aren't getting paid enough. They're less incentivized to leak information on where the animals are, and they're just poorly run. They don't have the facilities, they don't have the measures to defend themselves, and it makes it super easy for a poacher to come in the middle of the night, cut through the fence, and kill rhinos, basically. And so yesterday I was very fortunate enough to go to another reserve, a government-run reserve, about 3 hours north of here, into Kruger National Park, and I did a snare sweep, which was really cool to see. I went with the Endangered Wildlife Trust, which is a large global organization that's dedicated on protecting endangered wildlife around the world. And especially in this case, we did a snare sweep, which is basically going into a reserve and you're looking for snare traps, because poachers come in, they often set traps and then come back and harvest the meat in the body parts of these animals. And so in the snare trap, we're looking for basically like thin wire snare that people would lay in between trees. And basically the point of them is that animals will walk into the snare and it basically suffocates them as they walk through the bushes. So it's catching a lot of buffalo, a lot of impala, deer, and like that's all the recent animals that they're catching. But in the past, they poached all types from lion to rhino to elephant, and now they're just kind of doing different types of meat because all the animals are gone. Like all the elephants, all the rhinos, all the lions, they're nowhere to be seen on this reserve. The reserve is in great shape in terms of how fertile it is, how much grass there is, and like how untouched it is, just because there's been no animal activity on this reserve at all, because the poachers have really driven everything out of there. So that was really cool to see, and fortunately that day we didn't find any snares, which was great. That means the movement's going in a positive direction. But just the week prior, the ranger that I was doing it with found 30 to 40 snares surrounding a water basin. Luckily nothing had been caught, but just last week there was 30 or 40 of them, and he was there to take them all down. So it's good to show that these measures are working, and that it's on the upward tick, which is great. And then, yeah, that's kind of my week one. I'm thinking about changing my idea more from like looking more at like what it takes to really run a successful anti-poaching unit compared to looking at the economic impact on tourism that poaching has. I've realized that there just isn't very much of the information that I'm looking for. Like not very much of that is accessible, to me at least, and you just can't find it on the internet. And also all of these lodges that I was looking to survey are all private companies, and they're not going to expose their revenue numbers and their financials. So like, I think I'm gonna shift my idea to looking at what it really takes to run a successful unit. And here on Thorny Bush, because I've had so many, or not many incursions in the last 10, 15 years, and they've been able to withstand the highs of poaching and protect their population, I think it'd be a great area to study. And then also hoping to kind of use my connections here to talk to people from other reserves that are in different provinces that suffer a lot more from poaching. So there are a lot of poaching incidents in the KZN province of South Africa, whereas I'm in Limpopo area, and there aren't too many because it's mostly private reserves. And so it'd be cool to get some information into a government reserve. And then, yeah, that's kind of my first week. And yeah, I look forward to updating you guys as the weeks go along. Thanks.